When my birthday came last year, the house was full of noise, the kind of noise that makes you feel invisible. The television was on. The phone rang a few times. Someone was laughing outside. But no one said, "Happy birthday, Mom." Not one call. Not one message. I sat there quietly with my cup of tea, watching the clock tick from morning to night. It wasn't the first time this happened. For the past few years, my birthday had become just another day that no one remembered. The first time it happened, I cried in the kitchen. The second time, I tried to remind myself that people get busy. But this time, the third time, I didn't cry. I just sat there in silence, staring at the candle I had lit for myself. And that's when something inside me changed. I decided that if no one else wanted to celebrate my life, I would do it myself. Quietly. Secretly. Without telling anyone. That was the day I opened my small box of savings, money I had kept aside for emergencies. I looked at it and whispered to myself, maybe the emergency is me. My name is Grandma Helen, and this is my story. Thank you for listening, my dear ones. Before I continue, please make sure to subscribe to our channel. These stories are real, and they come from hearts that have lived long enough to learn. Tell me in the comments where you're from, and if you've ever had a birthday that no one remembered. I would love to hear your story too. Now, let me tell you how one forgotten birthday became the most meaningful week of my entire life. I live in a small town, in a cozy house that once used to be full of people. Now it's just me, and sometimes the soft sound of the wind brushing through the curtains. My husband, Robert, passed away 8 years ago. He was a kind man, quiet, gentle, the type who always remembered my birthday even when I forgot it myself. Every year he'd buy me daisies, because he said they looked like me, bright but simple. We had 2 children, Anna and Michael. They both live in the city now, busy with work, children, and their own lives. I don't blame them. Life gets busy. But sometimes I wish they'd remember that I still wait for their calls, especially on the one day that used to mean something special to all of us. My friends, the few that are still around, also drifted away slowly. Some moved closer to their children, some are in nursing homes, and a few, well, they've gone where birthdays don't matter anymore. So that morning, when I woke up and realized no one had remembered, I didn't feel angry. I just felt invisible. I made myself tea and toast, the same way I always do. I sat by the window, watching the postman pass by without stopping. For a moment, I thought about calling Anna. Then I stopped myself. I didn't want her to pick up and say, "Oh Mom, I'm so sorry, I forgot. I'll make it up to you." Because she said that last year too. And Michael, he sent me a message 2 days late the year before that, with just 3 words, "Love you, Mom." Sweet words, yes, but empty when you feel like you've been forgotten first. That afternoon, I opened the small wooden box that I keep in my wardrobe. Inside were envelopes, each one with small amounts I had saved over time. Money from birthday gifts, small pensions, and a little from when I sold my old sewing machine. It wasn't much, but to me, it was freedom. For years I had been saving that money, just in case. In case the roof leaked. In case I got sick. In case one of my children needed help. But as I sat there alone on my birthday, it hit me, I had been saving for everything except myself. So I took one deep breath, picked up my purse, and said out loud, "Not this year." That's when the idea came. The next morning, I packed a small bag. Just a few clothes, my journal, and a photograph of Robert. I locked the house carefully and walked to the bus stop. I didn't tell anyone, not Anna, not Michael, not my friends. As the bus drove away from my neighborhood, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, excitement. It was small at first, almost like guilt wearing a disguise. But then, as the houses turned into hills and fields, I smiled. For the first time in a long while, I was doing something for me. I took the bus to a small seaside town I had always dreamed of visiting. Robert used to talk about taking me there someday, but life had other plans. When I arrived, I found a little guest house by the shore. It was simple, white curtains, wooden floors, and the sound of waves just outside the window. The lady at the reception asked, "How long will you be staying?" I smiled and said, "I don't know yet. Maybe until I remember how to feel alive again." She looked at me kindly and handed me the key. That evening, I walked along the beach. The sky was turning pink, and the air smelled of salt and memory. I took off my shoes and let the cold water touch my feet. It felt like the sea was whispering something. Something like, "You're still here." I sat on a rock and watched families laughing, children running, couples holding hands. For a moment, I felt that familiar ache in my chest, the one that whispers, "You're alone." But then I took a deep breath and told myself, alone doesn't always mean lonely. I whispered to Robert's photo. "You'd laugh if you saw me now, wouldn't you? Running away on my own birthday." The wind carried my voice away, but it felt good to say it. Over the next few days, I let myself enjoy small things I used to ignore. I had breakfast at a little cafe by the water, coffee with cream, and toast with strawberry jam. The waitress smiled at me every morning and said, "Good to see you again, ma'am." That, "good to see you," meant more than she knew. I sat there and watched people come and go. Some alone, some with friends. And I realized something. Everyone carries a story, but not everyone has someone to listen. So when an old man sat next to me one morning, I said hello. His name was Henry, a retired postman. We started talking about the weather, then about life, and then about how quiet it can get when you grow older. He told me he lost his wife 5 years ago. I told him I lost Robert 8 years ago. We both smiled quietly at the coincidence, to strangers, connected by the same kind of silence. One afternoon, as I was walking back to my guest house, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Anna. "Mom, are you home? I tried calling but you didn't answer. Hope you're okay." For a second, I thought of replying right away. Then I stopped. She hadn't called yesterday, on my birthday. But now, a day later, she suddenly remembered. I stared at the phone for a long time. Then I put it back in my bag and whispered, "I'm fine, sweetheart." Just finally remembering myself. I didn't send the message. I just said it out loud for me. That night, I sat on the balcony of my room with a cup of tea. The sea breeze touched my face, and I felt peaceful. I realized that I had spent so many years waiting for others to make me feel special, my children, my friends, even strangers. But maybe it was never their job. Maybe it was mine. I remembered something Robert once told me after one of my birthdays. He said, "Helen, the world won't always clap for you. Sometimes you have to clap for yourself." I laughed at the memory. You were right, love. As always. And that night, for the first time in many years, I slept soundly, without waiting for the phone to ring, without expecting anyone to say happy birthday. I had already said it to myself. The next morning, I woke up early. The sun was just rising above the sea, painting the sky in soft gold. For a moment, I just stood by the window, watching the world wake up. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message. Mom, please call me when you get this. We are worried. It was from Michael this time. I held the phone for a long while, feeling a mix of warmth and sadness. They were worried, yes, but not because they remembered my birthday. They were worried because I had gone silent. And maybe that's what it took for them to notice me, silence. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding Robert's photo. Should I tell them where I am? I asked quietly. The photograph didn't answer, of course. But somehow, I knew what he would have said. He'd say, "Stay a little longer, Helen. You've given your whole life to everyone else. Give yourself this week." So I stayed. That day, Henry, the old postman, invited me to join a small group of retirees for lunch at a seaside restaurant. It wasn't fancy, wooden tables, cheerful chatter, and the smell of fried fish and lemon. At first, I wanted to say no, I had gotten used to being alone. But Henry said, "You like this, Helen? We are all a little lonely here, that's why we talk." So I went. And I'm glad I did. They were a small, lively group, people who had lost partners, children, jobs, or health, but somehow still found laughter between stories. They talked about books, music, the price of groceries, and their children who never called enough. And for the first time in years, I laughed, a real, loud laugh that came from somewhere deep inside. It felt strange and wonderful at the same time. After lunch, Henry walked me back to my guest house. As we reached the gate, he smiled and said, "You know, Helen, sometimes we get so used to being needed that we forget how to just be wanted." I didn't say anything right away. I just looked at him, feeling his words settle into my heart like soft rain. That night, I wrote in my journal, "I am not just a mother or a friend. I am also a woman who once dreamed of traveling, painting, laughing. I still can." A few days passed. Each day felt like a slow breath, calm and full of small, quiet beauty. Then one afternoon, as I was having tea by the window, the guest house owner knocked on my door. "Mrs. Helen," she said kindly, "there's a parcel here for you. It arrived this morning." I frowned, surprised. Who would send me a parcel here? When I opened it, my hands trembled. Inside was a small box wrapped in pink paper, with a card. The card said, "Happy belated birthday, Mom. We are sorry. Please come home." Tears filled my eyes. Inside the box was a little daisy pendant, just like the ones Robert used to buy me. I sat there for a long time, holding the pendant close to my chest. They remembered, maybe too late, but they remembered. And somehow, that was enough to soften my heart. That night, I walked back to the beach. The moon was full and the waves were whispering against the shore. I took off my shoes and walked barefoot again. The sand was cool, the air gentle. I looked up at the stars and said, "Robert, they remembered." It felt like the sea was smiling back. The next morning, I packed my bag. I folded my clothes neatly, placed the photo of Robert on top, and put the daisy pendant around my neck. As I locked the door of the guest house, I looked around one last time. It had become more than just a place to stay. It was where I had found myself again. Henry was sitting outside, reading his newspaper. When he saw me, he stood up. "Heading home?" he asked. "Yes," I said softly. "It's time." He nodded and smiled. You'll be missed around here, Helen. You brought a little sunshine to our table. I laughed. Well, thank you for reminding me how to laugh again. He reached into his pocket and handed me a small seashell. Keep this, he said. So you don't forget that the sea is always waiting, even when people forget. I held the shell tightly. Thank you, Henry, for everything. When I got home, the house looked the same, quiet, clean, and still. But something inside me was different. I put my bag down, took a deep breath, and whispered, Welcome home, Helen. Then the doorbell rang. When I opened it, Anna was standing there with tears in her eyes. Behind her was Michael, holding a small cake with one candle on it. Mom, Anna said softly, we are so sorry. We should have been there. We should have remembered. I didn't say anything for a while. I just looked at their faces, full of guilt, love, and realization. Then I stepped forward and hugged them both. I know, I said. It's okay. I just needed to remember myself before you could remember me. Michael smiled sadly. We thought you were angry with us. I shook my head. No, sweetheart. I was just tired of being forgotten. So I decided to remember me. We stood there for a long time, three people who had drifted apart but still shared the same heartbeat of love. Later that evening, we sat at the kitchen table, eating cake and laughing at old stories. Anna said, Mom, promise us you won't disappear again. I smiled. Promise me you'll visit before I have to. They both nodded, and for the first time in years, I felt truly seen. After they left that night, I sat by the window again, the same spot where I had once cried quietly. But this time, I wasn't sad. I was grateful for the silence that had taught me strength, and for the loneliness that had taught me love. I looked at the little wooden box of savings, now almost empty, and smiled. I didn't regret spending a single penny. Because I hadn't wasted it. I had invested it in myself. The days that followed were gentle. I started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. I painted the sea, the daisies, and the shell Henry gave me. Every stroke of color felt like a heartbeat. Sometimes, when the house gets too quiet, I still feel that old ache. But now, I know how to fill the silence with music, laughter, and kindness to myself. A few months later, I received a postcard. It was from Henry. It said, Dear Helen, the sea is still here, calm, patient, and waiting. I hope you're still smiling. Your friend, Henry. I placed the postcard beside Robert's photo and smiled. Life had a way of giving you people at the right time, just when you thought no one was watching. I now celebrate my birthday every year, even if no one else remembers. I bake my own cake, light a candle, and whisper, Happy birthday, Helen. You made it through another year. Sometimes Anna and Michael call, sometimes they forget, but it doesn't hurt like it used to. Because I don't wait for their love anymore. I welcome it when it comes, and give it when I can. I've learned that love doesn't grow by waiting. It grows by living. So, my dear ones, if you're listening to this and you've ever felt forgotten, please remember this. You are not invisible. You are not too old, too small, or too late. Sometimes, you just have to take your own hand and say, Come on, let's go see the sea. You don't need anyone's permission to feel alive again. You only need your own. I'm Grandma Helen, and that was my story. Thank you for listening, my dear friends. If this touched your heart, Please subscribe to our channel and share your story in the comments. Tell me where you're from. I always love hearing from kind souls around the world. And remember, you can't pour love from an empty cup. So fill your own first.